What's going on, guys? Marc Guberti here. In this video, I'm going to talk about 5 ways you can build up wealth. So this is something that is good for you to watch now. The earlier you do this, the better. But no matter what your age is, it's an excellent time to start building up on your wealth. Now, before we get started, just make sure you gently tap that like button. I know a lot of YouTubers tell you to smash the like button. I think it's better if we gently tap the like button before we get started because it definitely helps out. So the first strategy for building up wealth is to look at your existing income streams and see which ones have the most potential. So if you see an income stream that maybe is producing a little bit, maybe a few $100s each month, but you believe it could produce thousands of dollars each month, then focus more of your time on those income streams. There's the Pareto's principle. It's pretty much 20% of your work is going to produce 80% of your results. So you have this idea, a few things you do produce most of your income. Figure out what those things are, and also look at the areas that have the most potential for significant income growth, and then focus on those areas. The second way to build up wealth is to invest early and often. There's only so much you could do to build up your income. And income, it's certainly great to build it up, but if you invest, that opens the door to much higher returns. It opens up the ability where your money now works for you. And if you have anything like the 8% average return and you keep your money parked in that area for 30 to 40 years, like it's a bank account, it could really add up over time. I'm 22 at the time of this video, so I definitely don't have as many expenses. So I really don't like it when I have more than $1,000 in my bank account. I divert all that into Fidelity, into different stocks, into different index funds, and it allows me to know that my money is working for me. Now, you want to figure out what your risk tolerance is. So I know that generally younger people like myself, there's a lot more appreciation plays, high risk, high reward. There are a lot of other people who they go for a play where it's yield based. They go for the dividends. And you usually see more of that with people who they still want the stock returns, but they don't want to go into bonds. And the older you get, the more bonds make sense. That's just the traditional investing flow. Now, each person, again, has different criteria, but figure out what yours is and invest accordingly. Now, we already talked about income streams, but a third thing that's going to help you build up your wealth is to embrace certain side hustles that make sense for you. So earlier we talked about assessing your income streams to see which ones have the most potential, which ones are doing the best for you. But if you add more income streams, you make more money. And there are some of those like books and training courses, which can become completely passive with enough work that you put in. For Udemy and Skillshare, all I really do on those places now is I just create courses and I do some very light promotion when the course comes out. Same thing for most of my books. And then the sales just keep on rolling in automatically because of the way that those are set up. So you could really have multiple income streams and just stick in a side hustle, an extra one. If you ever feel like you're falling off track, or if you ever just want to boost your income even more. Because again, the more income you put into your investments, the more money, the more those are able to grow, the greater the potential is for success. The fourth way to build wealth is to spend minimally. And a big part of that is to look at all of your expenses, see which ones are adding up the most, and really make an effort to trim that down. So a lot of people, for instance, they are conscious of their spending. Instead of going to the Starbucks for their coffee, they will invest in a coffee machine where they will essentially make their own coffee rather than get it at Starbucks prices. So it's doing things like that, which may not seem like such a big deal in the moment, but it will really add up over the course of several years. And if you look at other expenses in this same manner, then you're just going to have more money to invest. One of the biggest ways that people cut down on expenses is they house hack. Not for everyone, but the way that works is you buy a multifamily and you live on one side, you rent out the other, the tenant pays your rent. You could also do this with an Airbnb setup in your own property. Granted, you would want to look at local laws to see if Airbnb is okay in your area, but it is a great way to chip down at the mortgage or at the rent, which is that most expensive area for most people, like buying a used car rather than buying a new car and paying all those extra expenses. So it's just ways like that to be more smarter about your spending. And with that better mindset, with cutting down on your expenses, you have more money that you actually get to keep. And then you can put into stocks. You can save up for real estate. You can set up that emergency fund because, again, people have different risk tolerances and different needs, but generally having more money is going to fuel all those different needs. Spending minimally helps you keep more of what you make. The fifth way to build wealth is to get rid of all the bad debts. And this is like credit card spending. A lot of this is around consumerism where you've overspent on different things. If you are in this boat and you want to chip down on as much of that debt as possible. Now, it's important that I mentioned the word bad debt because not all debt is bad. If you use leverage to buy your property, to buy your home, or to buy a multifamily, that's not bad debt because that debt is there for a property that is going to appreciate in value. But if you are into real estate investing and you buy a multifamily, and let's say that you have to pay $1,500 a month through mortgage, through taxes, through all of your expenses, and then you have a tenant who's paying you $1,700 a month. So in that case, it's not bad debt. And there is a certain fee that goes into the debt. So let's say like 4% interest rate. And rather than paying off all that debt, if you could, it makes more sense to invest in somewhere where you can get an 8% return rather than pay something now so that you avoid spending the extra 4% spread out over 15 to 30 years, depending on which mortgage option you pick up. So there are a lot of debts that are certainly bad, and those are the ones you want to pay off. But looking at stuff like an investment in a home, that's not necessarily bad debt. And you do want to pay attention to how the debt comes up. That usually gives you a good indicator as to whether it is good debt or bad debt. So those are the 5 ways to build up wealth. They all come down to 3 principles, which we will be really quick with. The first principle is you increase your income. The second principle is that you keep more of that income. You trim down on your expenses. And the third way to build up wealth, that third principle, is to utilize your existing money in a smarter way. We talk a little bit about this on the channel. We also talk about building your platform so you are able to boost your income. So smash the subscribe button if you have not already, and gently tap the like button as well because it always appreciates that extra support. So signing off, dream big, achieve greatness, and unlock your potential today.